Hello, friends. If you're new, welcome to my channel. Why don't you go down, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any episodes. For my fans and subscribers, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Today, we're talking about Jehovah's Witnesses and progressive revelation. Let's go. According to Jim Penton, progressive revelation in the Jehovah's Witness world is a bit of a slippery term, probably on purpose, and they have vacillated a great deal on what progressive revelation means. At times, it has meant kind of what it means in the Mormon world, when basically God speaks directly to the prophet, seer, and revelator, and tells him what he wants for the church. Other times, progressive revelation is more akin to the New Light doctrine. The concept in the witness community that allows the governing body to define new truths is that of progressive revelation, or new light. To prop up this concept, they misinterpret Proverbs 4:18. This verse has nothing to do with the quote-unquote light of truth, and it is obvious if you read it in context and on its own terms. None of Watchtower's predictions, starting with Russell, have come true. Russell believed that the quote-unquote rapture would happen in 1878, then 1881. When this did not happen, he just reinterpreted events, saying the time of trouble would begin in 1910 and end in 1914 or 1915. Rutherford was equally adamant about 1925, and the Society had taught the 1975 date, beginning nearly a decade prior to that. Because of these failed prophecies, the Society has had to reinterpret its eschatology. For example, it reinterprets some dates while saying nothing about others. According to Russell, although he disagreed with Miller's deductions and quote-unquote Bible math, he felt that Miller was nonetheless doing the right thing in searching for truth. Russell believed he had more light than Miller, but never considered himself a prophet. Russell did consider himself to be fallible. However, even if the chronology he had worked out was wrong, he believed that the plan of God was like a harp, and even without that one string called chronology, it could continue to play beautiful music. In other words, he was already giving himself an out. In other words, he believed that all the doctrines that he had worked out, mostly borrowed from others, by the way, were strong enough to withstand even the heavy blow of chronology failure. This was in 1907, so it seems to me that even at that early date, he was getting cold feet or he was trying to back out. When 1914 came and went, inevitably with Russell's chronology failing, he admitted it in the foreword of a new edition of The Time Is at Hand in 1916. Quite frankly, I admire the guy for that. He owned up to his mistake, instead of blaming the people, as in the 1975 aftermath. However, he only went so far. In admitting his mistake, at the same time, he excused himself. Quote, "Our mistake was evidently not in respect to the ending of the times of the Gentiles. We drew a false conclusion, however, not authorized by the word of the Lord. End quote. Translation: something happened, but it wasn't visible. In the December 15th, 1962 Watchtower, it claimed that the organization has been entrusted to men who are not inspired. So JWs are told that they should not expect the faithful and discreet slave to be perfect in prophetic interpretations and other matters. Nevertheless, the current governing body believe that God is using His Spirit to move them gradually into a greater understanding of truth because they believe that they are fulfilling their stewardship over the church. So I've got a question for you JWs out there. If the governing body claim to be imperfect, how is it that they can demand unwavering obedience from you? In the March 1st, 1979 Watchtower, pages 23 to 24, the Society claims that writings by members of the slave that make up the Greek scriptures were inspired and infallible, but writings since then are not. Question: if the governing body today claim to be the apostles' successors, why shouldn't they also be inspired? Generally, Watchtower has been extremely dogmatic when it is held to a particular position. Later, when it became obvious that their position was manifestly false, the leaders would always fall back on the assertion that they are not inspired and must move forward when they receive quote-unquote new light. Some Bible students re-examined the Barbara Russell chronology and concluded that Russell wrongly assumed that Jerusalem fell in 606 BCE. The Herald of the Morning suggested instead that this happened in 587 BCE, the date that historians had suggested since the time of Usher. Of course, today we know without a shadow of a doubt that Jerusalem fell in 587-586 BCE, but Watchtower will never change this doctrine, even though it gives them an extra 20 years, because nothing of significance happened in 1934, whereas World War I broke out in 1914. The Watchtower, in an attempt to rebut this, published a number of articles to defend their chronology, including an article on page 187 of the June 15, 1922 edition. Among these arguments was the law of probability and deductions from the Great Pyramid of Giza. The articles go on to say that there are repetitions of two cycles, 1845 and 2520. There are only two things I will note in passing, to be taken up later. First, Jews have always used repetition of certain numbers. Secondly, we as human beings are pattern-seeking animals. This dogmatic stance on chronology changed in 1923 when the Watchtower said that chronology itself was not a vital doctrine. Yet the entire Jehovah's Witness religion rests on the veracity of the 1914 date. And don't forget, anyone who disagrees is kicked out of the religion. 2 years later, in an article entitled Birth of a Nation, Rutherford began to change the old chronology to the point where it was unrecognizable. Finally, in 1928, he declared that the Great Pyramid which Russell used to buttress his chronology, had been built under the direction of Satan, not Jehovah. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, and PayPal links are in the description, along with the source I used for this video. If you wish to get in contact with me, the best way is Twitter, next best is email. Also, please leave comments in the comment section. Not only do I love hearing from you, but it also triggers the YouTube algorithm. You may also leave any requests down there as well. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, goodbye.